Night fell over the Thai tropical forest, thick and silent like an endless curtain. Suddenly, the rustling of dry leaves was broken by a low, echoing sound, the trumpet of a wild elephant, like a warning from the depths of darkness. On a distant hillside, flickering lights from thatched huts in the small village resembled lost stars amidst the vast wilderness. But tonight was unlike any other. A small figure, barely taller than the bushes, was quietly walking among the giant, ancient trees. Somchai, a 4-year-old boy with clear eyes and a curious heart, had accidentally wandered into the domain of majestic creatures. The darkness swallowed each of his steps, and somewhere in the thick mist, the enormous eyes of an elephant were watching. The wind whistled through the leaves, whispering of lurking dangers. Steep cliffs, hidden beasts, or sudden storms that could strike at any moment. Would the boy find his way back, or would he be forever lost in the mysterious forest? The answer lay not only in Somchai's survival, but also in a magical connection, a story of courage, gratitude, and friendship that transcends the boundaries between humans and animals. Nestled on a steep hillside in northern Thailand, Somchai's village was a peaceful haven amidst wild nature. Surrounding the village was a dense tropical forest, where towering trees covered the sky, and sunlight filtered through the leaves like thin golden threads. Beneath the forest canopy, a small stream sparkled as it flowed over worn stones, but it also concealed the danger of sweeping away anyone who was careless. The villagers lived off nature, farming rice on terraced fields, hunting in the forest and gathering herbs. But the forest was not just a source of life, it was also home to wild elephants, colossal beings both revered and feared. The sound of their footsteps shook the ground, and broken trees marked their passage, reminding everyone of nature's unstoppable power. Somchai's family lived simply in a wooden house with a palm leaf roof, blending into the village's rhythm. But the forest around them was never truly peaceful. Tigers silently stalked their prey in the shadows, venomous snakes coiled beneath decaying leaves, and sheer cliffs stood ready to claim the lives of the reckless. Harsh weather made everything more perilous. Torrential rains turned paths into muddy traps, fierce winds blew away roofs, and thunder roared as if to tear the sky apart. For Somchai's family, each day was a quiet battle to survive amidst nature's fierce yet enchanting embrace. Somchai's father, Mr. Arun, was a brave man with the rugged look of an experienced hunter. His skin was tanned by the sun and wind, and his sharp eyes seemed to pierce through the forest's secrets. Years ago, he had faced danger to protect a young elephant from illegal hunters. In that life-or-death moment, he had used his own body to shield the animal from a blade, leaving a long scar on his arm, a mark of courage and belief in the connection between humans and wild animals. That act not only saved the elephant, but also planted in him a deep love for nature, which he passed on to Somchai through stories told by the fire. Somchai, the little boy with jet-black hair and a radiant smile, was the heart of the family. He loved running through the bushes, listening to birdsong and the sound of the stream, but he didn't fully understand the dangers lurking. His mother, Mrs. Maley, gentle yet strong, always taught him to respect all living creatures. Their life was simple, but held a resilient strength, ready to face the challenges that the forest and fate brought. Under the pale golden light of the late afternoon, Somchai, a 4-year-old boy with bright eyes and a beaming smile, was engrossed. In play near the forest's edge, he enjoyed playing with the earth, using dry twigs to draw strange shapes on the soft ground. Around him, the rustling of leaves mingled with the cheerful chirping of birds, like a symphony of nature that Somchai always loved. To him, everything in this world was an adventure waiting to be discovered. Suddenly, a strange sound rang out, interrupting his innocent thoughts. It was a clear, melodious song, unlike any bird call he had ever heard. Somchai looked up, his eyes wide with curiosity. From a nearby bush, a small bird with feathers as brilliant as a rainbow appeared, perched on a low branch, tilting its head to look at him. Its song was like an invitation, full of mystery and allure. Without a second thought, Somchai jumped to his feet, his little legs scampering toward the bird, giggling as if he had just found a new friend. The bird took flight, soaring through the treetops, leading Somchai deeper into the forest. The boy, his heart full of excitement, paid no attention to his surroundings. He leaped over gnarled roots, pushed through tall grass, his clear laughter echoing through the verdant space. Each time the bird landed, Somchai would cheer with delight, reaching out as if to touch it, but the bird would fly off again, drawing him into an endless game of chase. He didn't realize that the familiar forest edge was fading away, and the tall trees were closing in around him like a mysterious maze. The sky began to change. Dark clouds rolled in from nowhere, blotting out the last rays of sunlight, casting a gloomy grey over the landscape. The wind picked up, carrying a chill and an eerie whistling through the leaves. Somchai was still chasing the bird, oblivious to the fact that the deep forest was slowly engulfing him. The bird suddenly darted, away behind a thicket. The boy stopped, panting, and looked around in confusion. Now only thick darkness surrounded him, the giant trees standing silent like ghostly figures, and the howling wind sounded like a belated warning. From afar, a low growl rumbled, making Somchai jump. He turned, trying to find his way back, but everything was unfamiliar. The paths had vanished, replaced by the encroaching night. Panic set in, tears streaming down his face as he hugged himself with tiny arms. "Mom! Dad! Where am I?" he cried, his voice lost in the wind. But there was no answer, only the rumble of thunder and the first cold drops of rain. Somchai huddled under a large tree, trembling, his tear-filled eyes looking up at the now pitch-black sky. Lightning split the air, briefly illuminating the forest and revealing strange shapes lurking in the shadows. Every sound from the depths of the forest, the rustling leaves, the snapping twigs, made the boy start in fear. He didn't know that this forest was home to wild animals, creatures he had only heard of in his parents' stories. Somchai and the elephant. In that moment of extreme fear, another sound rang out. Heavy, slow footsteps approaching him. Somchai held his breath, his heart pounding. From the darkness, a massive shadow gradually emerged. It was a wild elephant, with ears as large as fans and tusks that gleamed under the lightning. Its deep eyes stared directly at Somchai, as if assessing the small, trembling boy before it. Rain poured down like a waterfall, cold droplets whipping the ground and splashing around where Somchai huddled under a large rock. The boy hugged his knees tightly, his shoulders shaking, trying to shield himself from the relentless downpour. Thunder roared, each boom like a hammer striking the forest, accompanied by brilliant lightning that tore through the night. The flashes briefly illuminated the towering trees before darkness reclaimed the scene. Somchai gasped for breath, tears mingling with the rain, his lips mouthing silent pleas for his parents. The wind howled through the leaves, drowning out, his voice leaving the boy alone in the raging storm. Suddenly another sound cut through the rain, heavy, deliberate footsteps that made the ground tremble slightly. Somchai held his breath, his heart racing as if it might leap from his chest. From the shadows, a colossal figure slowly materialized, advancing toward him. When lightning flashed again, the boy saw in terror that it was an old elephant, its massive body towering, ears like giant fans and curved tusks shining in the brief light. On its back, a deep scar ran long, a testament to years of hardship in the jungle. Somchai shrank back, trying to make himself as small as possible under the rock, his eyes wide with fear. He had heard stories about wild elephants. They could be gentle, but they could also trample anyone who dared to stand in their way. The elephant stopped right in front of him, its enormous head lowering, its profound eyes locking onto the boy. Somchai trembled, too scared to move, his breath coming in short gasps. He imagined the elephant lifting its foot and everything, ending in an instant, but what he feared did not happen. The elephant slowly extended its trunk toward Somchai, gently sniffing the boy. Its warm breath brushed against his face, carrying the scent of the forest floor and damp leaves. Somchai remained still, but his fear began to subside as he realized the elephant was not acting aggressively. Its eyes held a soft glint, as if searching for something. Then, unexpectedly, the trunk lightly touched his tattered shirt, a shirt that once belonged to his father, Aaron, who had passed it down to Somchai as a keepsake. It seemed the elephant recognized a familiar scent, a memory from the distant past. The elephant tilted its head slightly, and from deep within its throat came a low, prolonged rumble, like a mournful melody amidst the storm. The sound was unlike the angry or warning trumpets Somchai had heard from other elephants. It was soft, almost comforting, as if the elephant was saying, "I know you. Do not be afraid." Somchai was astonished, his initial fear melting away, replaced by a strange feeling, as though this elephant was not a stranger but an old friend who had been waiting for him. The elephant slowly knelt down, its massive body shielding Somchai from the cold wind and rain. It emitted another low rumble, this time even gentler, like a promise between two lost souls. Somchai, though still shivering from the cold, no longer felt alone. He slowly lifted his head, looking into the elephant's deep eyes, and in that moment, he believed that a special bond had formed between them, a secret witnessed only by the storm. Many years ago, in the heart of the dense Thai jungle, where sunlight barely pierced through the thick foliage, a group of ruthless hunters had set a trap to capture a young elephant. Its ivory tusks were the prize they coveted, and the animal's pained cries echoed as ropes tightened around its legs and neck. Beneath the ancient trees, the hunters laughed in triumph, their axes sharpened and ready for the final blow. The Yi. Air was thick with the smell of blood and sweat, signaling imminent death. Suddenly, from the dense undergrowth, a figure burst forth like a gust of wind. It was Aran, Somchai's father, a man with eyes blazing with determination and a fearless heart. He had tracked the hunters for days, unable to bear the senseless slaughter. Without hesitation, Aran charged into the group, his hunting knife. Gripped tightly, the hunters shouted in rage, but he did not falter. With powerful strokes, he severed the ropes binding the elephant's legs. Even as one hunter swung an axe at him, blood streamed down Aran's arm as the axe grazed him, but he did not stop. He yanked the last rope from around the elephant's neck, his hands trembling with effort. The animal, exhausted and wounded, lifted its head to look at him. In its eyes was not just survival, but profound gratitude. Aran nodded slightly as if to say, "Go, I have set you free." With its remaining strength, the elephant rose, knocked over a pursuer and charged into the jungle, leaving behind the sound of rustling leaves and the fading silhouette of its savior in the twilight. Now, beneath the wet forest canopy, the old elephant stood before Somchai, its trunk quivering as it caught a familiar scent. It was Aran's scent, the smell of sweat, forest earth, and courage that it had never forgotten. Time seemed to stand still as memories flooded the elephant's mind. The man cutting the ropes, his steadfast gaze in the face of danger, and the feeling of freedom as it escaped. Now, before it was Somchai, a boy who resembled his father, carrying a faint trace of that same scent, like a thread connecting past and present. The elephant let out a soft emotional rumble. Its deep eyes shone with recognition, as if it were facing Aran once again. The trunk slowly touched Somchai's shoulder, gentle yet firm, like a silent promise. The boy looked up, his eyes wide with surprise but no longer afraid. A strange sense of safety enveloped him, as if the elephant was saying, "I know your father and I will protect you." The elephant knelt down, inviting Somchai to climb onto its back. Though hesitant, the boy placed his hand on the thick skin and climbed up, feeling the strength and protection of the massive creature. As the elephant stood up, Somchai saw that the deep forest no longer seemed frightening. They began their journey, guided by an invisible bond through the dangers. The elephant was not only repaying Arun by saving Somchai, but also opening a new chapter where loyalty and gratitude transcended time and space. The storm howled fiercely through the deep forest, with wild winds threatening to uproot the ancient trees. Leaves swirled chaotically in the air, mingling with the relentless white rain. Heavy drops pounded the ground, splashing mud and turning the forest into a dark, chaotic mess. Thunder roared, drowning out all other sounds while blinding lightning tore across the sky, briefly illuminating the eerie shapes of trees like monsters lurking in the darkness. Amidst nature's fury, the old elephant stood firm, like a living statue. Its eyes gleamed with determination, defying the wind and rain that lashed its scarred, massive body. It bent down, using its powerful trunk to gently but securely lift Somchai onto its back. Soaked and trembling, Somchai clung tightly to the elephant's thick skin. His heart pounded in his chest, but the warmth from the elephant's body made him feel safe amidst the raging storm. The journey began. The elephant moved slowly, each heavy step splashing through the mud. Rain fell like sharp arrows, stinging Somchai's face and forcing him to shut his eyes. Rainwater filled his mouth, carrying the salty taste of the earth, making him choke. The wind whistled in his ears, blending with the deafening thunder, creating a symphony of chaos. The elephant groped its way forward, Its trunk extended like a second sense, feeling the path through the blinding rain. Visibility was reduced to just a few meters, but the elephant did not falter. Somchai wiped the rain from his face, but it was futile. He could only place his full trust in his giant friend. After a long struggle against the storm, they reached a narrow trail along a steep cliff. To the right was a sheer, cold rock wall. To the left, a deep abyss hidden in darkness. The rain made the rocks slippery as if coated with oil, and loose stones shifted under the elephant's feet. It stepped carefully, its sturdy legs gripping the ground. Each movement sent pebbles tumbling into the abyss, their distant echoes serving as a warning. Somchai clung tightly to the elephant's neck, feeling as though he were suspended between life and death. He closed his eyes, imagining himself falling into the depths, and reminded himself to be brave as his father had taught him. The icy wind blew through, his wet clothes sticking to his skin, making him shiver uncontrollably. Finally, they faced the greatest challenge, a small stream that had turned into a raging torrent due to the storm. The water rushed violently, murky, brown, carrying branches, leaves, and even small rocks. The roar of the water was like a wild beast, ready to devour anyone who dared to challenge it. The elephant paused, its ears twitching slightly, as if considering the situation. Behind them was a dead end with no other way out. It took a deep breath and plunged into the ferocious current. The freezing water reached up to the elephant's belly, the powerful current pushing against its massive body. Somchai felt the force of the water hitting his legs, then rising to his waist. He gripped tighter, his hands shaking. Floating branches bumped into the elephant's legs, causing it to wobble slightly, but it pressed on with determination. Then, a sudden large wave crashed into them, momentarily throwing the elephant off balance. In panic, Somchai's grip loosened, and the water immediately swept him away. "Ah!" Somchai screamed, but his cry was completely drowned out by the roar of the water. He felt himself being pulled under, water flooding his nose and mouth, choking him. His arms flailed desperately, but the current was too strong. In the moment when he thought all was lost, the elephant turned its head, its trunk shooting out like lightning to wrap tightly around his waist. With extraordinary strength, the elephant pulled Somchai back, holding him close despite the relentless assault of the water. Step by step, the elephant battled the current, its legs standing firm like pillars, carrying them through the final challenge. When they reached the other side, Somchai slid off the elephant's back, his legs too weak to stand, and collapsed onto the ground. He gasped for breath, tears mixing with the rain, looking at the elephant with boundless gratitude. The elephant gently shook its trunk and lowered its head as if to comfort him. They rested for a moment amidst the still raging storm. But in Somchai's heart, his faith in the elephant had become unshakable. Under the faint moonlight, the small village lay peacefully amidst the sprawling rice fields. Suddenly, from the edge of the village, a massive dark shadow appeared, its heavy footsteps shaking the ground. It was a wild elephant, tall and majestic, its white tusks gleaming in the darkness. The villagers, gathered on their porches after a long day, jumped in panic. Shouts echoed everywhere, adults hurriedly pulling their children to safety, some grabbing sticks and knives, preparing to confront the intruder. "Run! The elephant is attacking the village," a man yelled, his voice cracking with fear. The crowd was in chaos, children screaming, dogs barking loudly, adding to the tense atmosphere. But amidst the turmoil, a small figure on the elephant's back made everyone freeze. It was Somchai, the boy who had gone missing in the forest the day before, now sitting on the back of the giant creature, his clothes soaked, shivering from the cold, but his eyes shining with hope. "Dad! Mum! I'm back!" Somchai called out, his voice weak but determined. The villagers were stunned, slowly stopping in their tracks, their eyes shifting from fear to amazement. Under the light of the torches, they clearly saw the boy waving, his pale face still managing a smile. "Oh, my God, it's Somchai," a woman exclaimed, covering her mouth. "He's on the elephant." The panic gradually subsided, replaced by curiosity mixed with awe. The villagers cautiously approached, still keeping their distance from the elephant, hardly believing their eyes. The story of Somchai and the elephant. Somchai's parents, Mr. Boone and Mrs. Suda, rushed out from the crowd like arrows. Their faces were etched with worry and despair after hours of searching for their son in vain. When they saw Somchai safe, Mrs. Suda burst into tears, running to the elephant and touching its leg with trembling hands, as if to confirm that it was all real. "My son, you're alive," she choked, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Mr. Boone," a normally stoic man, couldn't hold back his emotions. His eyes were red and his voice trembled. "Somchai, are you okay? I thought I'd lost you forever." Somchai nodded, slid down from the elephant's back and ran into his parents' arms. The three of them hugged tightly, their cries and laughter echoing through the quiet village. Happiness overflowed, dispelling all previous fears. The villagers, witnessing this scene, gradually changed their attitude. From fear, they began to sense the magic of the moment. The elephant was not a threat, but a savior who had brought Somchai back. Some knelt down, clasped their hands to their chests, and whispered words of thanks. "This elephant has a soul," an old man said, his voice deep with respect. "It saved the boy. We owe it a great debt." The elephant stood still, its deep eyes looking toward Somchai's family, as if understanding what was happening. It bowed its head slightly, using its trunk to gently lower Somchai to the ground, its movements slow and careful, like a close friend. Somchai turned back, hugged the enormous trunk and whispered, "Thank you, Mr. Elephant, I'll remember you forever." The elephant responded with a low rumble, like a fond farewell. Then, without haste, the elephant turned and walked slowly, back toward the deep forest. The villagers stood in silence, watching the giant figure disappear behind the trees. After a distance, it stopped, raised its head to the sky, and let out a deep, resonant call that echoed through the air. It was a final goodbye, both powerful and melancholic, leaving everyone with a lump in their throats. The village returned to peace, but the story of Somchai and the elephant would be told for generations, like a song about the magical friendship between humans and nature. The story of Somchai and the elephant is not just a dramatic and emotional journey, but also a profound reminder of the magical connection between humans and nature. Through the harsh trials in the deep forest, from the fierce storm to the raging flood, we witness the power of courage, gratitude, and friendship that transcends species. The elephant, once saved by Somchai's father from the hunter's blades, repaid the kindness by protecting the boy in danger, showing that goodness will always be returned, even from the most unexpected creatures. The message of this story is clear. Every act of protecting wildlife, no matter how small, can make a big difference. Nature is not just our home, but also the shared home of countless species, and it is our responsibility to respect and protect these creatures. When we treat animals with kindness, we not only help them but also nurture a better world for ourselves and future generations. If you are moved by this story and want to continue exploring the wonders of the animal world, please subscribe to the Animal Kisa channel. Here you will find meaningful stories, adventurous journeys, and valuable lessons about loving nature. Subscribing not only ensures you don't miss any content, but also allows you to join a community of animal lovers, working together to protect and honor wildlife. Let the story of Somchai and the elephant inspire you. Subscribe to Animal Kisa today and help us spread the message of love and protection for wildlife. For a world where humans and nature live in harmony, start with the smallest actions. Every step you take can change the fate of a creature.